In today's video, we're going to be looking at ticker symbol SHOP, also known as Shopify. There's been a huge earnings beat, 31% growth, and we're going to be looking at $200 incoming, as well as some significant catalysts. And for MMTLP, we're going to be looking at the steps that you can take to privately sell your shares for $50 per share. So before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So first of all, from CNBC, we can see the Nasdaq has been lifted by Nvidia and Apple, but the broader market is little changed. So overall it is down right now in terms of the overall market. From Market Watch, we can see the S&P 500 is falling nearly 275 points, currently in the red, and Nasdaq is holding as the Apple rally is extending, but there is overall a little bit of fear going on right now. Good news for TSMC, and that is in response to the tariff news from Trump, and they have got an exemption from the 100% chip tariff. So TSMC was also up on this news. So good news also for Apple. Apple was moving up nicely in the market. So from the White House, we can see Apple announced they are going to invest $600 billion in the United States over the next 4 years. So I think that would be positive news. So what I'd also like to give a shout out to is ticker symbol NBIS. It's a stock that have been featured on a number of occasions on the channel, also known as Nebius. They've just reported earnings, shared live in the Discord. Record revenue 105.1 million, and this was up a staggering 625%. So check out my earlier video on NBIS where I talked about the catalysts, and I also rated this as my #1 non-US stock. So congratulations to everybody in NBIS. So next shout out is also to the top ranked stocks DD channel in the Discord, where we share a number of stocks with currently in great momentum. The most recent ones we've shared due diligence reports for include QBTS and IONQ, and what I'd also like to now follow on by is having a look at one of the stocks that we looked at earlier on in the year, and that was ticker symbol SHOP, also known as Shopify, and again we called this out as a top ranked #1 stock. So let's now have a look at Shopify. So before we do that, also shout out to one of my posts on Savvy Trader. Go ahead and check out my buy and sell alerts, which can be seen on Savvy Trader, where currently I'm up 29% on my buy and sell alerts, which are shared live, and that's over the previous year. Let's start by having a look at the chart for ticker symbol SHOP. So over the previous 5 days, it's up over 22%. And as soon as we got earnings, when it was trading below $130, jumped to well in excess of $150. Right now, trading at $150.46, currently down just in excess of 2% due to the market overall being red. But we have a look at this, which we have been following for quite a while. Over the previous 12 months, it's up over 177%, and very impressive there. And from September, you could have got this just below the $70 mark. Let's have a look at a summary of the income statement from the earnings. We can see revenue was up a very impressive 31% year on year at $2.68 billion, currently Canada's largest company right now, and we can also see net income up more than 5x at $906 million. So quick response here from Abhinav, and he stated here it's rare for a $200 billion company to accelerate its top line growth by 50% within a year. Revenue growth currently 31% year on year, very, very impressive. So I think obviously the monetization is certainly working well, that we can see. But let's now have a look at Shopify in terms of it potentially being a $200 stock. So we can see here from Market Watch, question from Thomas Hughes, one of the analysts, is that it will hit potentially $200, and this is why. So first of all, we can see obviously what we've just seen in terms of the earnings, much better than expected, trading roughly at 90x the current year estimates and blowing past the estimates in mid 2025, with profits looking very, very solid for the next 10 years. So it is a stock I have personally invested in and currently up very nicely. And if we look at the technicals setup, it does support the valuation case. So technical outlook looks aligned with the potential breakout. We can see there was a rally at $60, and it is surging and potentially right now ready to break out. Short interest is just 2%, so shorts are certainly not pricing in a significant decline on this, and I think we're going to have some resistance at $200, and I think if it breaks that, we could go much higher. So they have blown past the consensus. The business is accelerating. 30.7% increase in revenue. That was quite staggering. The strength is significantly in the subscription and merchant segments. The company is also experiencing some margin pressures in terms of another positive is the free cash flow. So they are very healthy from the cash flow point of view. If we have a look at the financial position, obviously the quarter ending is certainly strong. And the other thing is institutions, as far as our risk is concerned, institutions have bought this on balance all year, and activity has elevated. And obviously one of the issues with this is that there could be a potential sell-off from them, so we'll have to see. So in terms of the key points, obviously we can see accelerating growth, significant strong free cash flow, and a potential technical breakout. And I think one of the catalysts that I'd like to share with you here is an increase in the analyst ratings, and this is from BMO. They've just raised the stock price target to $180 on strong quarter 2 results. I expect many of the other analysts to also increase the price target to $200 and above, so keep an eye out on SHOP. Let's now have a look at MMTLP, and following on from the previous video, we're going to be looking at the steps required to potentially sell your shares privately for $50 per share. So this is in response to what we covered with regard to John Rambo, and he's followed on with a post here, and he states here, private share offering by AST transfer. You can have an escrow attorney draw up an NDA if you needed it also. From on all correspondence will be kept confidential, and he has shared details in his video there, which we're going to look at shortly as well. But what he is saying, he's not abandoning Nextbridge. As far as he's concerned, this sale that he's looking at in terms of a private sale is for approximately 5% of his shares, and it's only because he needs the cash urgently, and he is keeping 95% of them. So the reaction here from 6 days 1 week is, are you able to give or transfer shares to another investor's name in AST, and is any person in the community ever done that? So John has stated yes, you can go into AST and find the forms and instructions. So what I'm going to do now is share some of the steps that John has shared. Then I'm going to look at an AI response to this and share an opinion. So let's have a look at what he starts with. In terms of his summary, he states that obviously it's a private share offer. It remains open until all blocks are filled, or until a court congressional mandate compels the disclosure of resolution, whichever comes first. So obviously if we do get that resolution, the sale will stop. We all know there's no public market, and he stated that, and obviously you cannot sell your shares on a public market. However, he's saying that does not mean you are restricted in selling your shares privately to shareholders. Obviously we're not talking about here selling to hedge funds, broker dealers, etc. So he states it is 100% legal private sale between the shareholders, and the Nextbridge hydrocarbon shares are privately held and recorded by AST. And what we can see is obviously with regard to the no public market, there are restrictions normally, but in this case he's saying there are no restrictions from the company preventing the private shareholder to private shareholder sales. So if there were restrictions, then that would make it probably almost impossible. But he says in terms of shareholders, they can privately message him and talk about this. It's not unusual, and he also states AST allows it and Nextbridge Hydrocarbons has not prohibited it. So in other words, it is technically possible. So the transaction will be carried out through a licensed attorney with escrow service. That means your payment goes directly to the attorney and not to him. The attorney will then hold your funds directly until confirmation is received from AST that you are the new legal owner, so it is all above board, and then the attorney will release the funds to Mr. Rambo. And what we can see is that you also sign a simple purchase agreement outlining the escrow process and confirming your intent to obviously buy those shares from him at the agreed price. You then obviously should submit a share transfer request to AST, including a medallion guarantee stamp. Apparently this is required to legally move the shares, so I'm sure the attorneys would be able to share further details on that. And then once ASC confirms the shares are in your name, the escrow attorney will release the funds to John. You will then receive official documentation from AST showing that you now own the shares that were previously held by John, and you will have that proof. The escrow attorney acts as a neutral third party who only moves funds when both sides meet their obligations. So obviously the purpose purpose of that is to reduce any risk or any nefarious activity, and he says this is a legitimate private transaction done the right way. He is being upfront, organized, and he's also using legal safeguards not only for any buyer but also for him as well, and to make this process smooth. So you can reach out to him. So what I've now done is use the search on AI using Grok 3, and the question I've asked is, can shares held at AST in a private company be sold without the need for a trading platform? So which is the case? So the answer from AI is yes, it can potentially be sold without a trading platform. Depends on the company's obviously restrictions. John is saying there are no restrictions, so that's the first tick list. Then obviously it depends on direct negotiation, so you have to agree the price with him. I also requires AST roles, and we know if the relevant paperwork is filled in, then that could be possible. It also requires identifying a buyer, so that would have to potentially be done through social media. Execute a sale agreement, which can be done through escrow, notify AST, comply with the laws, look at any challenging logistics, and then obviously complete the process. So in theory it is possible. I think the biggest challenge is obviously agreeing a price, finding a buyer, carrying out all these logistical bureaucratic forms, complying with the rules, and then potentially getting there. But I think the key thing is this will be from a private sale buyer to buyer, not with hedge funds and not with market makers, broker dealers, etc. So in theory it's possible. I'd like to see it happen in reality, and if it does, then obviously it may be many more people out there. So if you would like to do this, go ahead, reach out to Rambo, contact AST, have a look at your shares in there. I don't think this would be possible if your shares are held in street name at the broker. It would not be the same process, but if your shares are in AST, I think in theory this is certainly possible. And finally, if you would like to join us in our Discord, get a copy of our daily stock alerts as well as the weekly watch list, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.